there, my name is Kelly Dale with Off the Beaded Path. We have a physical bead store here in Forest City, North Carolina, and we are so easy to find at offthebeadedpathbeadstore.com. I've been beading for almost 20 years. I've had my bead store for 18 years, and we've been here on YouTube for 10 years. So I am so glad you found us. Today we are going to be doing a new project called the Highways and Byways Bracelet. This bracelet is a really great primer on odd count peyote stitch, and it's really nice because you'll be using a size 6 seed bead and a size 6 Demi round bead. So if you've never heard of a Demi round, they are made by the Toho company. They are a skinny version of a seed beads. So like a size 11 Demi round looks like they halved a size 11 seed bead. So you still get the size 11 part, but the width of the bead is about half. So we're going to be using those size 6 Demis today. So with these larger beads, your project is going to work up way quicker, and you are going to get really easy results because of these larger beads. Now I will tell you, we will be doing a little bit of odd count on each end of the bracelet with some size 11 seed beads. If you feel like that's a little too hard for you to do the odd count with the smaller beads and to connect them as how we're going to add our clasp, it's okay. Just pay attention to the end of the video where I'm going to show you a different way and a simpler way to add a different type of closure. So again, we're going to be using those size 6 seed beads, those size Demi rounds. We're going to be using a size 11 seed bead, as well as a size 10 or 12 beading needle, whichever one you like the best. A thread of your choice. Now, I have tested this project with several different threads. 1G, KO, Dura thread, 6-pound Fireline. And out of all those materials, the 6-pound Fireline has worked the best. Okay, it's giving you a nice hold to those larger size 6 seed beads, but at the same time giving you a flexible product to wear on your wrist. Now with the KO, the 1G, and the Dura thread, they did work good. It's just the piece came out a little bit more floppy. So just be aware that the 6-pound Fireline is going to work the best for your piece. Also, it's really important to use all Toho brand seed beads. If you try to use a Miyuki seed bead with the size 6 Demi round or a size 11 Miyuki seed beads, it may throw the piece off a little bit, and instead of being in a nice straight line, you may have a wavy piece that won't turn out as well. So just be aware of that. Now, I'm not going to specify as to how much thread to specifically use. Each person's going to use a little bit different amount of thread depending on the size wrist that they have. I'm going to start out with 3 yards of thread, and then I'm going to use a 4th yard at some point in the piece. So you're going to want around that 4-yard mark. You may need more, you may need less, again, depending on the size wrist that you have. I do have a written pattern for this project. It's step by step. I believe it is 6 pages. You can find it at offthebeadedpathbeadstore.com, as well as all the materials for this specific bracelet. Now, I'm going to be using one specific type closure for this bracelet, and it is a product by Tierra. It is a 1/2 inch distressed slide bar. Now I'm going to be showing that to you in just a minute. I'm also going to show you what to use if you can't find those 1/2 inch distressed bars. I'm going to show you a different kind of clasp. So let's get our stuff together and get started. So this is the bracelet I'm going to be showing you how to make today. You can see it is a fun bracelet using these larger size beads, but it's going to work up quickly. Now these are the ends that I was telling you about in the beginning of the video. This is a 1/2 inch distressed slide with loop. It is made by the Tierra company here in the United States. They come in several different colors. We have them in the silver, we have them in the gold, and we also have them in this kind of antiqued gold color. So they come in different colors. Now, these are a fun product to use because they give you a really nice finished look to your piece. Here's another sample I have that you can see here. Just gives you a nice finished look. Now, if something should happen and you can't find these or they're sold out because of the pandemic right now, you can also use this product here. It is a 21.5 slide bar clasp. Okay, so you can see here that it has the double bars, just like we'll be using today, and the clasp slides apart. So it's just a little bit different. It has a little bit different of a look to it, but this will work just as well. The only other thing you're going to need to complete your project that I did not say in the opening is you are going to need some jump rings and a clasp to add whatever type of clasp you would like to your bracelet. Again, I am starting with my needle, 3 yards of thread on it. I have my Demi round in this pile. It's called DR in the pattern. And I have these in my other pile. This is my size 6 seed bead. I believe these are just called SB in the pattern. The colors that I'm going to be using today are a silver lined rainbow topaz for the regular size 6, and my size 6 Demi round here is a metallic, higher metallic amethyst Demi round. Now, to show you the difference in your beads here, this is, well, if I can get it to kind of, there we go. This here is your regular size 6 seed bead. The one next to it is your Demi round. So you can see they have quite a difference in their sizing. You can see it looks like somebody halved the size 6 seed bead to get the Demi round. The Demi round also has a nice large hole to it. Now the size 6 is not interchangeable with an O bead or a 0 bead. They are more flat, but you can see they have a nice size hole. So we're going to be doing odd count peyote stitch. So to start out, we are going to pick up a seed bead and a Demi round, a seed bead, a Demi round, and a seed bead. Okay. Now I'm going to hold these beads and I'm going to bring them down. Now when I bring them down, I want to make sure that, see right here, I've got a little tail thread. I need to make sure that I leave 24 to 30 inches here. So I'm going to leave 12, 24. So again, 24 to 30 inches of tail thread. So I have all of this tail thread here, but you're going to need all of this thread for your rows, and you'll see what I'm talking about here in just one moment. So we're going to be working back in the opposite direction. So now I'm going to pick up a regular size 6 seed bead. I'm going to skip my last seed bead I threaded on, and I'm going to go through the Demi round. Now I'm just going to kind of hold these beads in place here, and I'm going to pull this thread straight up. And when you do, you'll see there that the size 6 seed beads sit on top of each other. Now we're going to do this again. We're going to pick up a Demi round. We're going to pick up a seed bead. We're going to skip a seed bead, and we're going to go through the next Demi round. Pull this on through. Okay, and now I have one seed bead left. So I'm going to drop this seed bead down. I'm going to pick up a new seed bead. Now this here is my tail thread. I'm going to hold it tightly over my finger. I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to go under that tail thread here. And you can see I'm keeping it pulled tight because when I pull the needle through, I don't want this bead to go under that thread. So I'm going to pull that bead through. and you can see how the new bead kind of sits on top. And then I'm going to come right through the bead that I just added. So I'm coming right through this new bead. So what's going to happen when I pull that thread, you'll notice now that my tail thread moved up. It's no longer down here. We want it to move up. It's going to move up with every row that we do. So this is a really easy pattern to kind of catch on to, because now we're going to pick up a demi round and we're going to go through the next seed bead sticking up in my row. You see I'm working back the other direction here, and then I'll pick up a demi round and I come through the last bead sticking up in that row. Okay, so this is what we should have at this point. So now we're going to work back towards that tail. So I'm going to be picking up a size 6 seed bead, and I'm going to go through the demi round. You can see I'm pulling that thread straight out to keep my tension nice and tight. Pick up 1 seed bead, go through the next demi round. And then we're ready for that little funky turnaround, if you want to call it that. So we pick up a seed bead, we go under this tail thread here, and I'm going to keep it tight against my finger. I want to keep it tight so that when I push this needle through, this bead here does not go under the thread. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull this, and then I'll take the needle and I'm going to come through that bead again. Would you look at that pretty little thing there? Okay, so the next row, I think some of you have probably already guessed it, but your next row is going to be a demi round, and you're going to go through the next seed bead sticking up. Okay. Then a demi round, and I'm going to go through the next seed bead sticking up. I'm going to do just a couple of more rows here so you can see just in case. So again, I'm going to pick up a seed bead. I'm working back this direction, so a seed bead. I'm going to go through the demi round here. Pick up a seed bead, go through the demi round, and then we're ready for that little funky turnaround thing. So I've got my bead, I go under the tail thread here, I'm going to pull this on through, and then come back through that bead that I just added. So now I'm going to continue working in this manner until I get the length that I need. Okay, so I already have another sample worked up to be able to show you. Once you get the length of your bracelet, this is what your piece is going to look like. For this sample, I used the gold lined rainbow black diamond in the 6, and I used the matte color iris purple in my size 6 demi. I'm going to be using my size 11 seed beads now. This is a opaque rainbow ox blood that I'm going to be using, and I have got to the end here where I've just added my last size 6 seed bead. You can see that 24-inch tail went really quickly. This is actually one of the samples that I did with the Dura thread, I think, and I just did not like it. I actually switched to the fire line near the end of it here. So I'm ready to start this next row, and it's going to be worked similar but a little bit different. So I'm going to pick up one size 11 seed bead, and I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to come through the next size 6 seed bead. So I'm going to be putting one size 11 where the size 6 demi is. Then I'm going to pick up another size 11 seed bead and come through the size 6 seed bead. So you can see there we got a little bit of a different look going on, but it's going to be really close to the same as we keep working. Okay, now we're going to work back in the other direction. I'm going to be picking up 2 size 11 seed beads, and I'm going to go back through that single size 11 seed bead and pull this through. Then 2 11s, and I'm going to go through the next 11. You can see what we got going on here. And now 2 11s, and I'm going to do the turnaround the exact same way. Got my 11s on there. I'm going to go under that tail thread and keep the thread pulled tight, pull it through, and then I'm going to come back through those 2 size 11 seed beads again, so that my tail thread moves up and I'm ready for the next row. So I'm going to continue working just like this for, I think it's 12 rows. I'll double check on that pattern for you and let you know for sure, but I'm just going to pick up 1 11 and come through the next 2 11s, then 1 11, and go through the next 2 11s. These will be the last set of 2 here. Okay, so this is what we got so far. Now we're going to work back this way. 2 11s, and I'm going to go through the next 11 here. Two 11s, go through the next single 11, and then 2 11s, and I'm going to go under this thread here, and then go through the 2 11s that I just added. This gets that little turnaround, and we are good to go to continue working. So you want to continue in this manner until you have 8 sets of 2 on each side working up here. So right now I have 2 sets of 2 and 2 sets of 2. I'm going to continue until I have 8 sets of 2 along each side here of this strip. Alright, so once you have your 8 rows on each side here, you're ready to add the first part of your clasp. So here's how we do that. I'm going to first take my needle, and I'm going to get rid of this short tail thread that I now have. It's really easy to get rid of that thread. Let me get the needle threaded here. Alright, so here's how we do this. I'm literally just going to take my needle, you can see it's coming out here on the end, and I'm going to take it and I'm going to start stitching through these beads, just kind of back and forth, and I'm going to stitch through several rows with these beads. Each time I go up through one, I'll go down through one right next to it to kind of lock it in place there. I don't put a knot into any of these threads because anywhere you put a knot, you're going to see it. And as long as you kind of stitch through and zigzag through your piece like I'm doing here, it's not, your thread's not going to come out, and you're not going to have to worry about it. You just want to make sure you get it completely secure and that you're happy with it. So I'm just going up and down through the beads here until I've used up a good bit of the thread, and I've used up a really good bit of it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get rid of this thread now. So I only have one thread left that I'm working with. This is now my quote-unquote working thread. So I'm going to put my needle back on to this thread, And I'm going to run the needle through this large open space here of my bar. And I'm going to slide the strip into the bar, just like this. Now, you'll notice here on the end, we ended with sets of 2. So 2, 2, 2. And down here at the beginning, we have our sets of 1. And that's exactly what we want, because we're going to connect those strips together. So when we fold the piece in place, we'll be able to see a little bit better of kind of what we want to do. So my thread is coming out of the 2 beads here on the end, okay, just like this. I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to come through the first size 11 seed bead on this side of the piece. Now for now, I'm going to kind of leave these not pulled all together because I want you to be able to see what's happening and what we're doing. So I'm coming out of the single seed bead here on this end, and then I'm going to come through the middle 2 11s on this side of the piece. And I'm going to pull this thread through. Then I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to go through this single 11. And then I'm going to go ahead and pull these threads tightly now. And then I'm going to go through this last set of 2 over here on this side. So that now it's connected and it looks really nice and finished for the piece. But now here's the thing. We're not technically finished because we got these beads attached, but you can see it's still open here on this side. So what I'm going to do here is I'm basically going to go down through the set of 2 11s on the other side of the piece. So I'm coming out here, so I'm going to go down through these 2 11s on this back side. And I'm going to pull that through. And I'm just going to kind of stick my needle through this opening here to come out on the other side of my piece. So right there underneath those 2 beads, I stuck the needle right through so that now I can come through those 2 beads again here on this side, and now that's fully connected. Now if you want to, you can go ahead and you can reinforce this again. It's not really necessary because you should have a nice tight connection there anyways, so you really don't have to worry about it if you don't want to, but it's completely up to you. So I'm going to kind of flip it around now, and I'm coming out of these last 11s here on the end. So now I'm going to go down through this last row of 6s. So I'm going to go down through the seed bead, the demi round, the seed bead, the demi round, and the seed bead. If you are using a KO thread, a 1G, a Dura thread, then yes, I would probably reinforce that connection. But since I'm using a 6-pound fire line, it's pretty well connected and I don't have to worry about it. So we have this end complete, and now we're ready to add those nice embellishments on the side to kind of cover up some of this thread. So I'm picking up 3 size 11 seed beads here. My thread is coming out of this size 6 on the end, so I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to go right up through the next size 6. So I'm only going to be working with the 6s on this side of the bracelet. I'll take the needle and I'll come through the next size 6 seed bead here. 3 11s, come through the next size 6. So you can see now how it's starting to put some of those embellishments in there. So instead of having a plain side here, we're going to have some little size 11 seed bead embellishments. So I'm just going to work down the piece, putting in my size 11 seed beads here all the way down on this side of the bracelet. You don't have to pull the thread super tight. You only need to pull it to kind of pop those beads in place, because as you pull the thread through the next bead, it will tighten it up a little bit for you. Two, if you pull this thread super tight, it's going to shrink the sides up a little bit, and you don't want that. You want this to stay true to the size that you've made it. So just again, when you put your beads in there, just pull it enough to pop those beads in place and go through your next bead. So you'll continue down all the way until you reach this last bead here on the end. Alright, so once you get the side width done with your little embellishments, you should be coming out of this last bead here on the end. So all you're going to do is stitch through this last row, and then we're going to continue our embellishments on the other side. So we're not going to worry about a clasp right this second on this end. So you can flip it over if you want to, and you're just going to continue picking up 3 11s. You go down through one, up through the next, and just continue working down the row, adding 3 11s, going down through your 6 and coming up through your next 6. Okay. And you'll continue this all the way down the length of your bracelet. Now I wanted to show you, here's another reason why I like to use the fire line. This one was made again with the Dura thread, and you can see how wavy the piece is from the side. Now when you put it on, you know, you're not going to see that, but even if I try to stretch it out, that waviness tends to come back. Whereas one done with your fire line is going to stay completely straight like you want it to. So that's another thing about using a 1G or a Dura thread or something like that. Now, I have came to the last bead here. You can see I am exiting my size 6 seed bead. What you can do, because the outside beads are a little bit larger, you can stitch back up through to come up here where you have a little thread bridge, and you can do a 1/2 hitch knot if you want. Again, the only thing I have against putting a 1/2 hitch knot is that you see it. You see that little thread there, and you see that knot. So to me, I find it best just to stitch through. You know, I work one side, then I'm going to come over here to the other side. I'll go through these 3 11s here, and then I'll go down through the 6, and then up through the 6, you know, and you can put a little knot here if you want to. It's completely up to you how you feel, you know, confident in putting your, you know, your knots in there. But that's another way that you can kind of get rid of this thread. But again, just remember, if you're going to put knots in there, try to hide them. Otherwise, you can just stitch through to get rid of this specific thread, just like I'm doing here. Now, once I'm done with this thread and I have this attached, then I'm ready to go ahead. I'm going to trim that thread, but now you can see I've got this end complete, but this end isn't, and there's no thread left. So I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to thread my needle onto a new piece of fire line that's 1 yard long. So let me do that now. Okay, so I have my needle threaded. I'm going to leave a very short tail thread here, just, you know, about 2 inches. And I'm going to come to one side of the bracelet, and I'm going to come through the 6 and the Demi, and I'm going to pull this thread through. Now I'm going to make sure to leave about an 8-inch tail, maybe a 6-inch tail. It's not going to take a whole lot. And I'm just going to kind of wrap that around my finger, and I'm going to continue working down the row, and I'm going to still hold on to that little tail thread that I've got. Now once I'm to the end here, you can see now I'll have my tail thread here. my working thread here. So I'm just going to come through these 11s and I'm going to stitch back through again. So my 11s, all the while kind of holding on to that tail thread. Okay, now when I get over to this side, I'm going to come through this 6 and then work my way around so that my needle is coming out of this bead here. So that once I pull that bead through, or that thread through that bead, I should say, I have my tail thread coming out of one side and my working thread coming out of the other. So that now I can continue on and I can pick up my 1 seed bead and go through, and I don't really have to hang on to that tail thread because it's secure in place and I don't have to worry too much about it, and I can continue to add my rows just like I did here to add the second part of my clasp. So now I have both sides of my bracelet attached, and all it'll take to finish it is to add a jump ring to your clasp, and that one's complete. Now let's say if you don't have these little fancy schmancy ends and you don't have access to a slide clasp. It's really easy to add any sort of clasp to this bracelet. So this is another sample that I had done, and I've put a stop bead on the thread here because I'm not gonna finish this one like that. I just want to be able to show you what to do. So when you come, you're putting on your little things, or you get to the end of the bracelet and you're ready to add your clasp. Super easy. Basically what you'll want to do from where you're coming out is you'll want to pick up, I would pick, let's see, 4, 5. I would pick up 8 11s, the first part of my clasp, okay, and then 3 11s. Okay, skip your clasp and 3 11s and go back down through that 5th 11 that you added on, and pull the thread here. And when you pull, just make sure. Now you can use a wire protector as well if you want to use a wire protector. I'm just showing you a really simple way. So now 4 more 11s, and then I would come through my 6 over here so that I would have the clasp attached. Now I would just stitch back through to reinforce this several times, so that way I don't have to worry about the clasp really getting any sort of pull. I could also, if I didn't want it out this far, I could also put on fewer beads. So instead of putting on, let's see, 5, 6, 7, 8, instead of putting on 8, maybe I could put on 7, so that I would be going back through the 4th bead here. It's really up to you kind of and what you want to play with, but here, that's just a really easy way to put on another clasp if you don't have these fancier clasps. But you can see this just looks a little bit more finished. Okay, so guys, I hope that you enjoyed learning how to make this super easy Highways and Byways bracelet. Again, I do have the written pattern for sale on my website at offthebeadedpathbeadstore.com, along with all the materials that you're going to need to complete your project. So guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye-bye.